I'm Harriet Sansom Harris, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Ann and Damien.
And something I've been thinking about is like people who you believe connect to the vocals when they're singing. So, for example, Aretha Franklin so deeply connects with what she's singing, I believe.
You mean the lyrics, like meaning that they're like connected to the storytelling of the lyrics?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you agree with this about Aretha Franklin?
100%. She's a storyteller.
And I think like Whitney Houston, yes.
Yes, 100%.
And then here's the person I have question and a pause about, Patti LaBelle.
Oh.
So this is what I'm bringing to you.
Yeah.
Do you think she connects, or is she just showing you like vocal gymnastics? Or maybe it's both.
I think it maybe is both. I think if I'm talking about like interpreters of story, I sometimes feel like the gymnastics that one witnesses with a Patti LaBelle is like fun and a party, but like, for example, and you know, I hold this song in very high regard, but her version of Over the Rainbow is not my favorite, though extremely impressive, gorgeous and strange and like athletic. I would say that she is an athletic singer.
Absolutely.
I think for me, LaBelle in general, the group, is some of my favorite music of all time. I love LaBelle. When we're talking about Patti LaBelle, I really like her gospel music. And I think I'm less attached to her as somebody that I want to go, though. I mean, I don't know that I even want to be on the record saying this. I mean, I went to go see Patti LaBelle in upstate New York, and she was incredible. And it was like a spiritual event. It was like so special. And she's so funny and so brilliant and so talented. I just don't know, when I think about somebody singing me a straightforward story song, that Patti LaBelle's my number one. I don't even like saying that out loud because it feels like heretical.
So when I was thinking about it, I brought this to our friend Kelly, and her response was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I argued my piece, which is like, I think sometimes it's just about like the impressiveness of what she's doing. And while I love that, and then she was like, "What about LaBelle?" And I was like, "Well, that's different. Yeah, no, that's soulful." And then she was like, "I think that her recordings are very connected and soulful, but when it's a live performance, she's just like having fun." And I thought that was actually made me feel better, because I think I was able to make peace with what I think I was criticizing.
Okay, I like that, because also she like took off her shoe in the middle of the performance when I saw her in an outdoor thing.
It literally happened at my show,
and I was like,
too.
Oh, this is so wonderful and so special, and it feels not intimate, but it feels like you're getting a piece of her personality on top of the performance. So maybe she is just doing it.
And it's like kinetic, maybe like she's like, it's like, you know, it's like moving her body because she's singing, and that's a different experience than when you're in a studio and you're recording vocals and then you're just isolated listening to those vocals. So,
and I think like when you listen to the soaring heights that she hits, it's like impossible to not be moved. So, but in terms of attaching feeling to lyric, I think I agree with you, but I feel a little nervous even saying it.
Folks, what do you think? Hello. Welcome back to another episode of You Might Know Her From
with Ann and Damien.
I am Damien.
I'm Ann, and if you don't know, this is our podcast where we shoot the shit with each other, best friends, longtime collaborators, queer, pop culture obsessed, strange folks who like to get granular about all things we love, which at the top of that list is actresses. So in between our musings on the state of the world, the state of our bodies, and the state of the industry, we interview a brilliant actress each episode. So this episode is like all others in that we are sitting down to talk with none other than Harriet Sansom Harris. When I tell you she was top of our list.
She's been tippy top of the list.
For years. And she was someone that spoke to Damien and I in different ways, I think, through the years, and just resonated with both of us so clearly in like a variety of projects. And as we get into in this interview, the joy of sitting down with these women each and every time is discovering new projects, getting to watch them work their magic over the course of sometimes like 40 years of their career. And for me, that was discovering Phantom Thread and Licorice Pizza, which I know are not quote unquote discoveries, but I love Paul Thomas Anderson movies, but they were blind spots for me. And so getting to watch her performances in each of those was really invigorating. And then getting to sit down with her the same week that I watched those performances. That's the joy of the show. That's what we do. So we really hope You dig in and enjoy this episode with Harriet Harris.
You might know her from Phantom Thread,
Licorice Pizza,
Addams Family Values,
Desperate Housewives,
The 5 Mrs Buchanans,
Ratchet,
The Agency Central Intelligence,
and the Broadway production of Thoroughly Modern Millie. This is an enormous day for us, years in the making. No joke. We have been after this guest since day one, and we finally got her in the hot seat. Welcome to the show, Tony-winning actress Harriet Harris. Welcome to the show, Harriet.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I do like to play hard to get. So
Look,
thanks for your patience.
We've been angling, so we're glad to have caught you. But look, we've got a lot to dive into. You are obviously a Tony winner, as we said, Great Lady of the American Theater. You've appeared in iconic films and TV series. We're going to get there. But first, we have to talk about this thing that's extremely important to Damien and I. It's one of our favorite one-and-done sitcoms ever, and that is, of course, The 5 Mrs Buchanans, created by Mark Cherry of Desperate Housewives fame. So this had one of the most stacked casts of the 90s, led by you, Judith Ivey, Charlotte Ross, Beth Broderick, and the great Eileen Heckart.
The great.
It was about sisters-in-law and their mother-in-law, and it was right up our alley since it featured an all-female cast, a la Designing Women or Golden Girls. It really was the heyday of when we had like all-women casts on TV. Do you know, Harriet, that this show has a lot of love among queer folks who happen to love women actors like us?
Well, it should. It should have been. I think it should have been universally popular. I really do. It was so funny, and for the most part, all the stories were highly comic and yet very relatable. You know, I don't know why people didn't like it better. Oh, you know, I think people did like it. I think there was a big shakeup maybe at the network at the time, and that may have been part of it. It may have been somebody's favorite show, and when that regime toppled, it had to go. I think that might have been part. I like to think that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It has a really big following in the queer community. Like, you know, people have found ways to keep it alive in the years. You can watch it online, which is fabulous. It would be great if all the actors were getting paid for those screenings. But I think they're all like illegal sites where people have been like, this is important media. Do you have any good Eileen Heckart stories that you could share with us? I mean, I'm such a big fan of her from The Bad Seed and 1,000 other things. But
Eileen really, every day was remarkable. And it was so long ago that although I wasn't young, I was much, much, much younger than I am now. And I think she's somebody that really made a huge impression on me. And you can't really imitate Eileen Heckart, nor should you, but her way of working, her way of thinking, her ability to maneuver and at the same time be steadfast, because Eileen was truly practically an immovable object. But, you know, she really was not stubborn, but she was so confident in her own artistic integrity. And even though we're talking about a sitcom and a sitcom performance, Eileen was a great, and not that there aren't great artists doing that medium, of course there are, but she was just a tremendously gifted person. And part of her gift was her self-confidence and her knowing what works and what doesn't. And if somebody insisted that what she was doing wasn't working, then she could come up with 5 different things, but they were always Eileen. They were always what would be true for her, for that character that she was inhabiting. It was an amazing thing to see somebody not sort of go, okay, well, if you want it this way, I'll go ahead and do it that, you know. She was remarkable. And just by virtue of the way she had to close the show, you know, the mother-in-law always came in and did something remarkable and devastating and jaw-dropping. And I think for the audience's benefit, Mark and the other producers decided Eileen actually had to do it live at night at the end of the show, rather than pre-tape it or tape it earlier for the audience to enjoy. And it really, it was exhausting. And she was such a thoroughbred, and asking her to stay, you know, like in that gate, because the show goes up, she's in the gate, and asking her to stay there without any kind of anything, and then produce. I think it was more and more I realized what a phenomenal performance she always gave.
Mm.
I was staggered then, but I really do. I think, so few people could do that. And she just used all of her sinew and grit and gave the show a big gift every week.
I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, it is. If people haven't watched it, please go out and find it. It's a delicious morsel.
You have this like enormous appeal, as we mentioned, to the queer community or
Enormous.
Enormous. It is, Harriet.
It is enormous. It is enormous to the queer community, LGBT community. So it makes sense that you worked at like with downtown darlings like Charles Busch and Paul Rudnick before they were famous. And then of course Mark Cherry and then Ryan Murphy discovered your talents. Did you always understand this like style or queer or gay aesthetic, for a lack of a better term, or did it just come naturally to you?
I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas.
It's big, yeah.
So I think in terms of understanding camp, possibly, or I don't know that we knew it was a queer or gay aesthetic, but it's not, and it's the home of Casa Manana. So that's what I grew up watching.
Yeah.
That and, Rosalind Russell movies and Eve Arden on television and, on, reruns, of course, darling. But I do have to say, Charles Busch and I adore Charles, but we've never worked together except in a reading once.
Okay.
And I have no reason to suggest that he doesn't want to work with me. But it never did happen. But I am a huge fan of Charles's. And one of my very best friends I ever had, McGann Robinson, worked with him a lot. And McGann was probably also, although I think we felt like soulmates in many ways, she was also an influence. And she did a lot of Charles's plays. And I adored Julie Halston. And I saw a ton of them. So, of course, it made an impact. I read a lot of Henry James. That made an impact too.
Yeah, I think that was the crossover that you had talked about McGann in your Tony speech, I think, and we were reading up on her. And then when we talked to Julie Halston, she also mentioned her as a tremendous influence. So I think that we got our wires crossed, thinking that meant then you had maybe worked with Charles Busch.
No, but Julie was so fantastic in those plays, and she's an extraordinary person altogether.
Yeah.
So Harriet, you obviously went on to work with Mark Cherry for, I think, over the course of like 3 seasons on the brilliant dark comedy Desperate Housewives, where you played Felicia Tillman, the sister of the late great nosy neighbor Martha Huber, played by Christine Estabrook, who you come to Wisteria Lane to avenge your sister's murder. And Felicia is a wild ride. She gets attacked by a hockey stick. She gifts Martha's teeth as an engagement gift. She cuts off her own fingers, one of my personal favorites. She fakes her own death. She goes to prison. She poisons a pie with antifreeze. She beats up Terry Hatcher, another favorite. And then ultimately she drives a truck into a truck, leading to her ultimate demise, just to name a few of her iconic moments. What was the most delicious part of playing Felicia Tillman?
I think maybe hearing all this right now. She sounds like so much fun. Really, I had no idea that I did all that or was a part of all that. I think what I liked about it best really was the crew, and that's going to sound stupid, but I saw the crew consistently, and I didn't see any of the other actors, and. Sometimes the producers were there, and sometimes, very rarely, was Mark on set after a while. And then if you did have a question, you'd ask the producer that was there, and that producer would say, I don't know, that's above my pay grade. And I think, well, somebody's got to know. So, but the crew was so sweet, and I always tried to be very efficient and not take a lot of time, because sometimes it was just like, peering out of a window, opening a mayonnaise jar. It was like some kind of Marcel Marceau kind of thing was going. Felicia lived by herself on the lane. So it was just, but it was great busybody behavior.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect way to describe it. And it's like you play Christine Estabrook's sister, and then but like
Yeah.
sadly you didn't get to work with her much because she's dead. Did you know her at all? Because like
That
you both
doesn't stop most people.
well, but you both have this incredible talent to play both wickedly hilarious, but also like mildly sinister. And like I would pay a lot of money to see you two swap roles in like Durang or something. Like
That would be a lot of fun. She and I did a play together a long time ago when we were young girls, and then we did on another Mark Cherry show. I think that one we played sisters too. She was a regular and I was a guest on it. It only lasted a season, if it lasted that.
you've both been
But
on so many of the same things, which is The Crew? Was it called The
The
Crew?
Crew, yes.
I'm not familiar.
Well, it's funny, and Christine is funny, and I think there were a lot of very attractive kids on it.
Okay. So you hinted at this, Harriet, but the set of Desperate Housewives obviously went down in infamy for a lot of drama, people describing it as toxic. On a scale of 1 to 10, how toxic would you describe the set from your perspective? Now, I know you said you mostly dealt with the crew, but Leslie Ann Warren told us here that it was a big old 10 for her. Do you have anything
Yeah,
to say
I
to
don't
that?
think I don't think I did hint at that.
No, you hinted that they were never around. You didn't work
Oh
with the
no,
other actors.
what I mean is I really didn't have stories with the other
Yeah.
actresses.
Yeah.
I was trying to, so I was always after Paul Young, but I could
Yeah.
never be in the same room with him. And then there were people that Nicolette and I sort of had a frisson and had a kind of, she appreciated Felicia and I appreciated her. But you know, Lynette Scavo, she's got no time for Felicia, but
yeah.
many of them had they just can't write those scenes. What would
Yeah.
we talk about?
You were
That's
like
fair.
you're like doing a flashback in a wig in your nurse scrubs, you know. I was like revisiting it all and I was like, "Oh, I forgot you had so much to do, but you're right that you were always isolated."
No, I'm alone, all alone. So it's oh my God, that flashback. They taped me so tightly for that my skin sagged from that.
Oh, God.
I should sue.
Yeah. Yeah. Take them to court. Everybody else has. It's
I
fine.
really, I mean, I couldn't believe it. And the highly awarded and much thought of, as he should be, head of makeup said, "Aren't you thrilled with the way you look? You look just like you did when you were 22." And I said, "Well, I never looked like." It was just, I never in my mother's womb, I didn't look like that. It's just that there was never, my skin was never that tight.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That
I
show,
nearly turned in on myself. That's how tightly he taped me.
well, that's an experience.
Oh.
There's a lot of great supercuts of Felicia on TikTok that, you know, she's got a lot of fans out there. So look, you've been busy, Harriet. You were recently Emmy nominated for your role on Hacks. You just wrapped season 2 on the star-studded Paramount Plus show, The Agency Central Intelligence with Michael Fassbender. It's very good. I just actually started it because of you.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. And this year, of course, you appeared in the Peacock miniseries Long Bright River with Amanda Seyfried. On top of that, as we said, you've stolen scenes for years in some of our most popular, beloved shows. So we mentioned Desperate Housewives. We've got Frasier, The X-Files, 6 Feet Under, Ratchet, Monster-in-Law, Memento, Quiz Show, Nurse Betty, Licorice Pizza, and Phantom Thread, just to name a few. We're going to get to a lot of those. You have such a distinctive voice and style. So what would you say is the role that you're most recognized for in public? And has that changed over the years of your career?
Oh, I think Frasier.
Yeah.
I think Phoebe, yes, because it's always on somewhere. And when I was shooting in London for the Paramount Plus show with Showtime, the agency, I think it's now called Agency CIA or something.
Okay.
I don't know, but it's hard to tell. But people in London really, I mean, they love Frasier even more than Americans. And so people would sort of send out a tentative, "Bibi?" Phoebe, is that you?
I love
It's very sweet. And one guy came up and asked if he could hug me on the street, and I'd always say no. And I had to say no, but he looked so downcast, and I thought, oh, get a grip. And and he said, well, could we take a picture? And I thought, oh, this is probably such a bad idea. I have no idea who you are. But I did. And he said, oh, my girlfriend, this is going to mean so much to her. And I thought, God, people are very sweet. And, it was so much more involved with the show, or their idea of the characters, or, it truly is that wasn't an earthquake, by the way. It was
Good.
just my microphone wire. With the shows than I would ever have thought.
That's network TV for you, babe, and it was on for a long time. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
So just for our listeners, if they will probably know, but you play BB Glazer, Frasier's no nonsense, well, maybe we'll say agent, and you recently got to reprise your role in the Frasier revival, where Rachel Bloom plays your sister.
She's my daughter.
She's your daughter. She's your daughter. Rachel Bloom plays your daughter, and
she'll pass out if she.
And she and Frasier have like a special connection. What was it like to bring BB back after all of those years?
Oh, it was an awful lot of fun. I didn't know what it would be like, but I've known Kelsey since we were in Juilliard together, and he's always been one of my favorite scene partners. He's in a way like Eileen. He just has such an innate sense of what's right for him, and what is funny on him, and how far he can push something, and he has unlimited faith in the person he's working with. And I don't know that I've ever seen that shaken. He just believes the situation. And that's what is fun that's why he's fun to work with. And so and BB is just reprehensible, and she's manipulative, and she's really out for herself in a way that very few people were until recently. And she's just she's a one of a kind character, I think, truly a one-off, and lots of fun.
So is it right that you and Kelsey Grammer were like in group 6 or class 6 at Juilliard, along with Robin Williams and Frances Conroy? Were they in your cohort as well?
Yes.
What an incredible little group of folks.
We had a great class, and Robin came in ahead of us, and he had already had more experience than we had. So he came into, I believe it was group 3 or 4, it would have been. And he looked around and he said, no, I've come in for basic stuff. I know how to do all this stuff. I want to get the basics, like, how do you do it? And it was an interesting thing, because Robin was so gifted and so facile, and he, like Kelsey too, he had a wonderful voice, and they were already very much ready to work. They were fully formed. So it was interesting that Robin wanted to come back and learn some basics, and joined our class. Yeah. And then I think he stuck with us for 2 years, and then I think he thought, well, I've gotten everything I need now. So he went off, and Kelsey burst forth, and it was a great school. It was a great class, and not everybody needed to stay 4 years. I did.
So we're going to dive into the theater of it all. And so to name some of the many Broadway credits that you've had: Man Who Came to Dinner, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, Present Laughter, Cry Baby, It Should Have Been You, and of course you won your Tony Award in 2002 for your villainous turn as Mrs. Mears in Thoroughly Modern Millie, which I was lucky to see that season.
But you must have been a little girl.
No, Harriet, we're of age. And it really was. I mean, I remember your performance so well. I knew the movie, and I was so charmed by the fact that once I got to know your career, it's like, you're a woman of the theater, and you were playing this like vengeful former woman of the theater. And it was just like so pleasing. Was there a part of you, because you had been an actor doing lots of straight plays. Like, were you excited that your Tony win was for this like evil musical turn?
I thought it was so unlikely. And it was unlikely that I was doing a musical. It was so much fun to be there every night and hear the overture. And I think I watched Sutton sing her big number every night. And there's certain the tap number I always tried to watch, and the secretary's tapping, and there were certain high points that Mark Kudish lifting Angela Christian, and there were just things that you just wanted to see again and again, and I got to.
Yeah.
And then when I got nominated, I thought, well, that's really interesting, but so absurd. But it was delightful, certainly. I can't quite believe it happened.
And then you won the Tony.
And then I won the Tony.
Unreal.
And then I got cast in other musicals, and everybody always goes, "Why?"
No, it
No,
makes
no, no,
complete
no, no,
sense.
no.
You're selling
But
the story. You're
no.
elevating the material. It's so good.
That's what I'm doing.
You are.
You
Harriet.
you are.
We're not blowing smoke. It's one of my favorite musical theater performances of the last 30 years. It's so good.
So speaking of musicals, Harriet, in 2006 you appeared as Vera opposite Christine Baranski's Mame at the Kennedy Center, and this is just like such music to our ears casting. But obviously these roles are associated with Angela Lansbury and B. Arthur. Like, were you familiar with B. Arthur's performance going into that?
Oh, I had the album like everybody else.
Yeah.
I grew up with that album, and I was not doing B. Arthur, but I was doing Angela, like any little ingenue. And
Right.
It never occurred to me that I would end up being a character
Vera.
actress. Yeah, I was always going to be Mame.
I would love to see
temperamentally,
you and Christine as, I wish I had seen that production.
She was wonderful. It's a great, great, great show. It was a really fun production.
Emily Skinner was Gooch, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
The wonderful, wonderful Emily Skinner. Yeah. It was terrific. A lot of great people were in it. Jeff McCarthy is in it. So many wonderful people.
So, Harriet, over the course of your film career, you've worked with some modern day auteurs, if you will. Robert Redford with The Quiz Show, Christopher Nolan with Memento, Baz Luhrmann because you were in Romeo and Juliet, and most notably, you've worked with Paul Thomas Anderson in Licorice Pizza and Phantom Thread. What do you look for when working with a director?
I really and truly, I was so thrilled to work with Robert Redford. I'm sure he never thought of what I did again, but it was so exciting to get to meet him. And I was surprised to be in it? Only that I actually got to be in the same room with him, but it was such a teeny part. And I think I was Enright's secretary. I was somebody's secretary.
Yeah, that's right.
And one of my agents said, "Oh, don't put that down. Give her a name." And I said, "Evelyn Snow." He said, "Yeah, it'll make the part look bigger." So it was Evelyn Snow for a while. And people were, "Who is Evelyn Snow?" But and Baz Luhrmann, that was one day. It was so much fun. So much went into it. So many, conversations and the really Baroque costume fittings, and flying down to Mexico to do this. It was so much fun. And Christopher Nolan, he was so relatively unknown then.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for Christopher Nolan, and the surprise was that actually he was looking for me, but not, I was who he ended up wanting. I don't think he was looking for me. I don't mean that. But and Paul Thomas Anderson actually did know who I was, or rather his phenomenal casting agents reminded him about me, and it all worked out. The other directors were wonderful, fantastic, so exciting to be with them, no matter how brief. But Paul's a genius. There are not a bunch of them around, and he really is. And those were some of the most fun days I've ever had in my professional life, certainly.
I want to get into the performances, because these two scene stealers in each of, those aforementioned films are incredible. But how would you describe his directing style now that you've worked with him on 2 films?
I think he wants to have fun. I think he wants to be surprised. I think he I think he truly wants to have a delightful day.
Mm.
And I think he wants to share how much he loves making movies with people who think it's a gas and who really just sort of say, well, of course it's, sometimes it's hard, but of course it's hard. You can't have this much fun without things, being hard to do, either schedule wise or, but he really, and again, I had a limited amount of time on, I think I was in London for Phantom Thread for maybe 3 weeks, but I really only had like 6 tiny little episodic scenes, tiny little like Polaroid camera kind of things. And the Licorice Pizza was in the middle of the pandemic, and I was so desperate to do it. I flew across in a plane to do the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought, this might be the last thing I ever get to do. And truly, because I just thought, what if this isn't, and I was already worried about AI. So, and what was going to, what's going to happen to getting together in a room full of people,
right,
and making something wonderful,
Yep.
So, and that is the thing that truly, I could really almost cry, even right now, thinking about how horrible that would be if that all stops.
Yeah. It's such I'm so glad you got on that plane. It's such a testament to like your desire to be in the work and in community with other artists doing it. And I just have to say, like, the talent agent that you play in Licorice Pizza, that scene just absolutely, I mean, I think it's the greatest scene in the film. I think a lot of people would agree with me. So you play this talent agent in 1970s LA. You deliver this line where you just say, bueno, fantastico. It is one of my favorite line readings ever. Did you build this backstory for this hard-nosed talent agent, or did you just come in, read the script, and shoot from the hip? Like, how long, how painstaking were those takes? How quick was it?
I think we got together and rehearsed it one day. I think we saw the room, and then came back the next day, and because I think Paul wanted to see what time of day, the light and all that, and I think he particularly wanted the sun to look a certain way behind my character, and so we did that, and then we shot the next day, and it was just really fun.
Yeah.
And the three of us, the 3 actors, had a marvelous time, and we just all thought the other was so terrific and so phenomenal in their part and their responses and what they were doing, and that we were all so connected that I think that the scene works because of that, because we all were just feeding off of what the other was doing, and Paul was absolutely delighted by what was happening, and it was truly, even though it was one scene, it was really such a feast. That's the way he writes stuff.
Yeah.
And Phantom Thread is the same way. It's just tiny little bits, and so Phantom Thread, he sent me what I was going to be doing. And then, as it got closer to it, it's like, well, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. And because I'd never worked with him, I thought, oh, geez, and that person's now saying what I said. And I thought, well, that makes sense, though. He really has to have something to say there. And it is more his line. But I thought that was one of the best lines. I was so upset about it. But what he's so great at, and probably why he's such a great film director, is he can distill. And he can really bring it into what's essential. And it's like if you were packing for a very long trip, you don't want it to be heavier than it needs to be, that bag, because you'll be carrying it under all kinds of circumstances. So he knows how to do that. That's one of the things that's so exciting. He's cut the movie almost before he made it.
Yeah, there's no fat. And your scenes as Barbara Rose, this heiress, and sort of this like devastatingly sad, beautiful, strange performance. The atelier, Daniel Day-Lewis is fixing your gown, suiting you for the gown. Can you talk about working with him on set? There's a lot to be said about his working style. I mean, I admire his work so much, but I'm just interested in what that style of work looks like in a Paul Thomas Anderson film.
I was told that he is going to be the character, that he is the character. A couple of days before we shot, and I'd arrived in London and was staying in this beautiful hotel that I thought, well, Barbara Rose's room would be bigger, but it would be this hotel. But, and that was fantastic. And he sent, Daniel Day-Lewis sent flowers, beautiful, the exact kind of flowers that you would want in a hotel room, not, funeral display, but something absolutely breathtaking, but doesn't take up a lot of space. So I think, who knows? I should have memorized. Who knew I'd be back in London? Should have memorized what the florist was. And a beautiful note that he explained himself a little bit without saying, without referring to himself, and then signed it Woodcock. And I thought, okay, and then when we met, and I greeted Paul as Paul, and then and I think Paul said, and of course, Reynolds, and I thanked him for the flowers, and we just never ever, I didn't have to ring kiss, and say, oh, you're just one of the greatest actors in the world, and you did, and I think that's just not, that would not have been the dynamic of the scene. I had to be the one with power. I had to be the one that could frustrate, and that could, so it worked for me, and we never really spoke to one another because I think he doesn't know me from Adam, and he didn't know if I was going to rock his boat in any way or finally cozy up and say, by the way, Last of the Mohicans, or anything like that.
Yeah.
He was very courtly.
Harriet, the cool distinction that you have in your career is that you have played Eleanor Roosevelt 4 times, at least into our counter. In Paul Rudnick's off-Broadway trilogy Rude Entertainment, in Ryan Murphy's Hollywood, on the PBS series Atlantic Crossing, and in the one-woman show Eleanor by Mark St. Germain. How much emphasis have you put on the real-life physical mannerisms and cadence to find Eleanor, and did that change whether it be stage or screen?
Well, I think when in Rude Entertainment, it was really what would be funny. And I think Paul thought that I would be funny as Eleanor Roosevelt. And so I think he thought there's part of me that seems very like that, perhaps, and that's what would make it funny. And the other times I've done it, I think, and I really did try to be Eleanor Roosevelt on stage with Paul Lynde. So, which is what Peter Bartlett was doing. And it was, but other times I think I certainly read a lot more about her, and I listened to her chats on YouTube, and have read some of what she's written and tried to really understand a little bit of how great she was. And I think she's just a tremendous person, and that there's never been a character that I could love as much as I love Eleanor, because she's just as good as anyone can be, I think.
Yeah.
And without being no fun.
Yeah, she had a sense of humor, which is nice.
Yeah.
So you're in good company. Many actresses have tackled Eleanor, and many of them are using facial prosthetics, false teeth. Have you or did you utilize any of those? And which of those, if any, sort of helped you step into it? And are you an actor that like works inside out, outside in?
I have really big teeth, and they're not.
We love big teeth here. Dana
Yes,
talks about big
yes.
teeth all the
They're
time.
not as crooked as Eleanor's, but and I have smaller eyes than I think most actresses. So in a way, I think in that way, I maybe don't need as much help to look like her as some actresses might. But I think in Ryan, I think maybe it must have been Ryan Murphy that he wanted Eleanor to have Eleanor teeth, and they've got that kind of money too.
Right.
So I had some Eleanor Roosevelt teeth that they gave me, so I still have them, but they taste just awful.
Ooh, I
And,
mean, would you ever pop them in for fun?
no, I don't. No, but if I'd known that it would give you a kick.
Next
But
time, next time.
yeah.
Jessica Hecht had told us at some point that like teeth was the wave of the future for actors, that lots of people were wearing
Teeth were the new
prosthetic
wigs.
teeth to sort of like change their facial shape and their speech patterns. I thought, ooh, I didn't know.
It was so
Well,
good.
it's hard to change my facial shape. Jessica Hecht, I'm sure you could put fake teeth in her, she'd look different. But you could put 4 sets of fake teeth in me, and I would look just the same. So I don't know if that's. I don't know. I think wigs.
You like a wig?
Oh, and better than teeth.
Yeah.
I
It
mean, you have
seems
to
very.
change the way you speak, and I don't know about all that.
Mhm.
But if it worked, people like different things. I've found
Fair.
actresses are all different, it seems.
Okay, Harriet, you played all the female roles in the original production of Paul Rudnick's 1992 play Jeffrey, even though this play's run was just under 2 months, which is sort of crazy. It had this enormous impact. It was turned into a film in 1995 and is generally hailed as the first comedy about AIDS. Can you talk about whether or not that felt like a risky endeavor as an actor in 1992? What can you share about the time of that production?
At the time, it just seemed like the right play. I don't, at one point, because it did seem sort of daring, maybe just in the construction of the play. I think we all knew it was, drop dead funny, and that it felt important to all of us. And we didn't talk a lot about it, but I think, all of us had lost somebody, and there needed to be as many plays as possible about that.
Yeah.
And there was, the wonderful Tony Kushner play, Angels in America, that was happening. And then we were doing a completely different kind of play that seemed so in your face and so challenging and borderline disrespectful of people's feelings. Not really, because it was so filled with love. But the material was challenging. Some people found it outrageous. One of the most exciting things about it is that people were coming up and people were bringing their mothers, and they were coming out to their family during this crisis with this incredibly jubilant play. And it's unforgettable, really. So and I think, we all were around the same age. I think I was possibly the oldest by, and Edward Hibbert and I are more or less the same age. And we were all sort of within 6 or 7 years of each other, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had so much in common, and there was so much crossover, and nobody had phones, not like they do now. So everybody did sit around talking, and it was a really fun, close cast. And it was just one of the remarkable professional moments in probably all our lives. It did feel like part of the reason people want to be actors. You want to relate to people through stories. You want to learn as much as you can about life and share your point of view. And that can best be done by a really funny, articulate playwright, or a really tragic, articulate playwright, or somebody with a strong message.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when actors can really be brilliant vehicles. And I think that's what we're best at, is conveying brilliantly something important, and something that needs to be shared and listened to. And whether people want to learn from it or not, that's up to them.
Right.
But for me, it was a very important play.
Yeah, and such an incredible legacy.
Yeah.
Around that time, according to IMDb, we get your first film credit, and that's Addams Family Values, which is iconic.
Paul too, of course.
Yeah, of course, the Paul
Yeah.
Rudnick show. Was this, you get to play one of the haughty mothers of the campers. You get to be there for the Thanksgiving musical. Was this a call from Paul, since you guys were already pals and had worked together?
I think it was, gosh, I feel like it was while I was doing Jeffrey Out Here, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. And Julie Halston was the other mother.
So great.
And we went to Yosemite together, and we sat around the pool together, and had been through our friend Megan's death together, and
Mm-hmm.
or at least her hospitalization. And it was a lot of fun, but I don't remember it being a phone call. I did not have to audition,
Okay.
but people generally don't want to see me audition.
Why?
They just don't want to see it.
Too good. She's too good. They
No,
don't need
no,
it. They don't
I
need it.
think, I mean, a lot of times somebody will just, kind of say, yeah, I have an idea that this could work. Do you think it could work? Yeah, that could work.
Did you get to see the musical that they performed in the movie, or was that all just, and like, did you really
Oh
get
no, we were watching
Yeah.
quite a bit of that. It was hilarious.
Yeah, such an incredible film.
Yeah, he's so funny. To work with Paul, to work with Joe Keenan, one of the funniest people. They're both two of the funniest people who ever lived.
Did you get hit in the face with a pie?
Oh, yes.
That was so satisfying.
And I got pied actually in Jeffrey. I think I came out as Mother Teresa, and I got pied.
Incredible.
But I did get pied in Addams Family Values, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I think Paul likes a pie in my face. I think, he likes to see me as Eleanor Roosevelt, and he likes to see Eleanor Roosevelt get pied.
Right.
Okay, Harriet Harris, we've entered the part of the show we call rapid fire. It's rapid it's just rapid for us because we got to get everything else in so we can let you be on your way. You can take your time if you need it. You were Emmy nominated for your excellent episode of Hacks. It's truly beautiful. Opposite your man who came to dinner co-star Jean Smart.
Yes.
Back when there were audition rooms, were you and Jean ever in the same room or up for the same parts, or who was in the room with you?
Not Jean.
Not Jean.
No, Jean. Jean is just sort of more goddess material.
Was it like
never up for goddess parts.
Was it like Estabrook? Was it Vianne Cox? Like, who else is in?
No, Vianne Cox is so much younger, and Estabrook and I are the same age. But Vianne and I would never have been in the same room. But we were in the same play. We were in Flea in Her Ear once, and she's adorable and so funny. And I don't know. I really think I think I was always sent to an undisclosed location. I do remember, and this is one of the worst things ever. When I was in Jeffrey, I went for a commercial audition because God, you had to make some money. So sitting across from me was an actress I barely knew, and she said, "Are you still in Jeffrey?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "It's funny. No one knows you're in it." And I said, "Well, you knew." She said, "Well, but you're not on the poster, are you?" And I said, I don't know. I don't know. Am I not? And she said, "No, you're not on the poster." And so she got up and went in, and Mary Testa was sitting across from me. And Mary Testa and I are not close friends or anything. I think she's incredible, but we really never are in the same room except for this one time. And because she can really sing, but she said, "What a bitch." And I said, "Oh, excuse me." She said, she's, you know, with you. And I said, really? She said, you can't tell? And I said, no, that never would have occurred to me. She said, oh, she does it to everybody. She does it to everybody. And, you know, so it immediately dispelled this anxiety. I thought, what an incredibly generous thing for another actress to do.
Love it. I love
Love
Mary
that.
Testa.
Okay, Harriet, where did the Sansom and Harriet Sansom Harris go? Why do we hear it sometimes and sometimes not?
Because I joined Equity and there wasn't a Harriet Harris. And I joined SAG and so I think I'm Harriet H. Harris there. And then when I joined SAG, there was one. I think she was maybe in Citizen Kane, really, if you look it up. And then I think she was in a movie called Transylvania Twist, which I do believe is possibly pornography.
We're
Okay,
gonna find it. We're gonna find it. We're gonna
my
find this
interest
other-
is piqued by her. Citizen Kane. You know, I love a mix of high and low brow, you know?
And she did a commercial with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So
Renaissance
She's for
woman,
us.
Renaissance
She's for
woman.
us.
Yeah. You might want to try to find her, although it would be a long distance call. That is, she's gone.
Okay, Harriet, you have a certain Rosalind Russell air of streetwise meets sophistication about
Yes,
you. You're often cast
yes.
as upper class, intellectual, and or wealthy. Have you ever played dumb and or poor? And if not, would you like to?
I played dumb a lot, but you know, not professionally. But yes, I know I have played. I've played people who are a little challenged, you know, not as quick as others, and it's fun to do. And um, no money. Yes, I have played people with no money, and I think that again is something that people don't particularly like to see on me, but I like to play.
Okay.
But you put bad clothes on me, and it looks even worse. So I need to play people that have some money in order to look like anything.
Okay, you've worked on 3 different Ryan Murphy projects, American Horror Story Apocalypse, Ratchet, and Hollywood, where respectively you played a devil worshiper, a lobotomized closeted lesbian opera singer, and Eleanor Roosevelt. Did you have a group chat with your castmates, maybe particularly on Ratchet, so everyone knew what the tone of the show was supposed to be?
No, it was no. Ryan, that was a phone call. And that was sort of like, I have an idea that you'd be right for this. And, you know, we don't have anything but to show you yet, but this is the idea. And I think American Horror Story, it was the same thing. We don't have any pages for you yet, but this would be the thing. And I thought, oh gosh, who wouldn't want to work with him? You know, and there's certain things that, you know, I said, please, you know, I will do most anything for you, but I really don't, you know, there's certain things I really don't want to do. Let's just get it right out there. And one of those things was, you know, I said, please, I just don't want to be stapled to a barn, the side of a barn with meat hooks and have my entrails coming out. I just don't want that. So let's just say that's the tip of the
That's where the
iceberg.
line is for Harriet Harris. Harriet Sansom Harris, excuse me.
But that's, you know, and I said, anything that you might, any of those things, naked on the side of a barn, anything that this conjures up. I don't want any of that. I can't do it. It's too close to home.
Your episode Eve 6 is one of the greatest of all time of the X-Files, and it is
Isn't it?
It's
So good.
It's one of the first places that we clocked your formidable talent. Have you ever met the band named after your episode?
You know, I did. So I met them. I was in the 101 coffee shop, and somebody came up and said, "Are you Eve 6?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "So are we." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, we're Eve 6." And I mean, it totally went right over my head. And he said, we named our band after you. after the character. And I said, oh, that sounds great. I'm not very cool. I'll have to find out who you are. So, but I was so flattered. I mean, come on.
It's beautiful.
I think somebody told me they named a rose after me too. I hope that's true.
That's cool.
It is one of the great episodes of the X-Files. I've seen every single one of them. And it's, I believe from the first season, it just holds up so perfectly. It's so good.
Yeah, it was really, 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 really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Harriet Harris, this has been an absolute pleasure, a true dream come true for us here at You Might Know Her From. Thank you so much for being so generous with us.
Oh, thank you all. It's very sweet that you're interested and that people may know me from something. I'm glad about that. I really am. Do I get a t-shirt that says that?
Yeah. We'll
Anybody worth caring about knows who Harriet Harris is, and I mean that.
Thank you.
You know how people talk about certain sounds scratching their brain? Harriet Sansom Harris's voice lives in my brain
completely.
And not the scratch. The scratch implies something maybe negative. It isn't. What I'm saying is it's like when I hear her, it's
it's pleasing.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a part
pleasing.
of her brain. I mean, a part of her speaking voice that is very pleasing and familiar to your brain. And I feel the exact same way.
And it's like when I heard her speaking to us, it was like literally the opening of this book of 40 years worth of her work that I'm familiar with. For somebody that we've been after for so long, I feel like she's so representative of this show. She elevates every single thing she's in. She comes in and steals one scene out from under a movie full of stars. This is what a You Might Know Her From actress does. And she was so generous and so smart. And again, funny without trying to be. And I was not let down after being so excited to sit down with her for so many years. She's still at the top of my list.
Yes, same. She was a complete joy, and what a coup for us to have her on the show and in this roster of women.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, if you like what we do here, won't you please go support the You Might Know Her From Patreon? That is the best way that you can help us continue to do this thing that we love to do. So you can support us on the Patreon at You Might Know Her From. You can also follow us on social at that same handle. Thank you for supporting You Might Know Her From. It is produced by Duck You Dragon. That is us. That is Damian Bellino and Ann Rodeman. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. It means the world.
And folks, did you know that every piece of music you hear on You Might Know Her From is courtesy of Gang? Gang is a band that's 3/4 women, and they are based out of Philadelphia, and you can stream their music wherever you listen to your tunes.
Folks, do you want to see Patti LaBelle's rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow and be able to make your own judgment about whether she's connecting to the material or not? Fear not, my cohort Ann Rodeman is going to link out that performance in the show notes. She catalogs each and everything we discuss in each and every episode in the show notes. So take a look, take a deep dive. You will not be disappointed. Do you guys know that Eve Plum wrote a book recently, and she will not come on the show? If you know Eve Plum, tell her to take our calls. We will talk to her about other things besides the Brady Bunch.
I literally just watched I'm Gonna Get You Sucka, and she has a great cameo that I never knew she had. She's so good. Eve, we have so much to talk to you about that does not involve the BB. You know what I mean? We have stuff to talk about your theater career. A lot of women that we know you're friends with, that we know you're connected through interviewing them on this very show. Is her book a memoir? I didn't even know it just came out. How's it not on my radar? Damien, we have to read it.
I told you.
Damien, my brain is oatmeal. We need to buy the book and we need to read it. And maybe if she's doing press, maybe she'll come talk to us. Eve, this is a clarion call. I'm sending out the bat signal for Eve Plum. Eve, what are you doing?